backs. Bravely we prove in our striving, trudging together each day. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Here we are. Here we are. Hello, hello. Yeah. Thought it was maybe about time I discussed this. See, I've talked about it before, but it's been a few years at least. Um, Give me a second here. I gotta take care of something real quick. I got a spider on the wall. All right, took care of that. But yeah, and I'm not really anticipating too many people with this one. This is my third live today, so hey Michelle, good to see you. Happy Saturday to you also. Going to be a good day, and all my troubles will go away. Yeah, it's going to be a good day. It's the only part of that song I really like, but catchy. I forgot what it's called. Chorus. Catchy chorus. All right. Yeah, I've been asked to work other places in other states. People have, the thing is, I'm good at what I do. I did kill the spider, Michelle. When it's inside, I do not feel bad. I don't want the cats going after it. Otherwise, they will climb up the wall, destroy my desk in the meantime, and everything else. So, so I'm very careful. Yeah. All right. So let's do some introductions. Get this party started. Welcome, Daily Trudge. Dion. If you're here, please say hello, whether you're watching live or the rewatch. I'm so tired of that introduction. I'm gonna work on a new one. Don't plan on seeing it anytime soon, but let's where's my list? Of stuff I need to work on. New introduction for lives. All right. So, yeah, R.I.P. Spidey. sorry, Spider. Yeah, I do feel a little bad for doing it, but my brain's trying to find a good starting spot on this topic. So when I was 20 years old, I had graduated from what was called the Phoenix Concept. This was a halfway house for homeless alcoholics, and even though I was not, I was literally living on Skid Row at that point, but it was in a warehouse with 15 other men, 12 to 15 other men, depending on how much. We were almost always full. I mean, they literally walked off the street into our location because it was, So at 17, I did live on the streets for a little bit, but in this case, I did have a roof over my head. I had food to eat, and what that did is it gave me a better chance at sobriety. That's what it did for me. Yeah. See, I've been through a lot. Everything that I advocate, I have been through. I have probably experienced myself. And homelessness is one thing that I do advocate for. Now, you know, there's some contention there. Um, having homeless people around, it can be dangerous, but there are people that have roofs over their head that are just as dangerous. So, you know, shit in one hand, wish in the other. See which one fills up first. All right. All right. So I became a drug and alcohol counselor at a place called Arapahoe House. I was 19, about to be 20, and I got my CAC, certified alcohol counselor. At that point, it may have changed by now, but I was the youngest CAC in Colorado. I went to work at a place called Abraham Lincoln High School. It's still known as one of the hardest schools out there. Yeah. Now, I was not the lead counselor. I was still in training. Okay, you don't go to school for 6 weeks and suddenly you're a counselor. No, that's just the beginning. There's a lot more to work on. All right. There was a lot of different trainings that I had to do. In fact, my first 6 months at Arapahoe House, I was mostly in training. And that's where I learned a lot of the skills that I have today. But so I worked at Abraham Lincoln High School. During the summer months, I helped with the family counseling, some of the summer programs that we had for the youth. Worked a little bit of treatment at that time where I go in and just kind of help the staff in certain treatments, things like that. Eventually, I would go to work at Detox. I left the industry for a little bit. As there was a child on the way. But I would end up going back to work at Detox when I was about, I think I was 23, 24. And I'm going to tell you that job was my favorite job. It was my favorite job that I ever had. I excelled. It was my area. I was good at it. People trusted me. I loved it. A lot of success, right? This is back when Colorado was I think we were number 7, 8 in the country. Arapahoe House was listed as the number 5 treatment center in the country. Yes. Colorado at one point was the best of the best of the best. It really was. And I'm not going to get into how it got demolished. That's not the part we're getting into today. Right. What is the main reason? Well, let's fast forward a little bit. At 12 years, I'd go out for 15 years. I'd come back and got sober when I was 45. When I was about 47, I applied for a job at that same Detox that I used to work at. I had been diagnosed with PTSD, and I was told that the only way that I was allowed to work, actually, I think I was more like 3-4 years sober when this happened. And so, I didn't really take a look at the qualifications. I sent in my resume. Right. I sent in my resume and I got an answer back within 24 hours. I was like, oh, wow. Okay, cool. And it was a decline letter. We're sorry, Dion. You do not have a bachelor's degree, so therefore you cannot work at Detox. And that's when I started to figure some things out. See, for 2 years, I kept begging for help. I kept going to Detox because, see, my experience with Detox was a good one when I had worked there. So I thought if I went to Detox, there would be other alcoholics there to help me out. And I just couldn't see it. My mind was all fucked up. I kept going into AA meetings, raising my hand because I thought they were still asking who here needs a sponsor, but that isn't what they were asking. They were asking, is anybody here willing to be a sponsor? And I kept raising my hand. And for 2 years, no one fucking approached me. No one. That is reason number 1 why I do what I do. That's why at Grassroots, we ask who here needs a sponsor. Because I'm not going to let that happen to the next person, letting these people flounder around. Well, they got to be willing. The fuck is your problem? Willing. Like I get to decide what. They showed up to a meeting. They're shaking. They announced that they're an alcoholic. What more willingness do you need? I find that playing God. And I will tell you right now, if I went the route of not picking my sponsees, I would have none. But every single one of them have said this to me. Dion, I wanted you to be my sponsor. I didn't know how to ask. You want to know something? That's because it's not their fucking job. It's mine to meet people where they're at. It's one thing I'm huge on. Very, very big. So at that point, I figured out why nobody was helping me. Then I started remembering, I'm like, okay, every time I went to detox, I would ask, um, you know, so I got to answer this as a sponsee. All right. Priorities. Sponsees. We usually meet at 2:00, but he was running late. And he's like, can we do it at 3:30? I can't do it then. So, all right. Ain't no thing. Hey, Clara. Good to see you. All right. So I found out that I couldn't work at Detox because I did not have a bachelor's degree. You know, of course, when I worked there before, I also had to have my CAC. So that does kind of make sense. In a way, it does kind of make sense, right? So I'm not going to go into a lot of what I did, but I was one of the main promoters of having peer support in Colorado, and the fact that it got well, let's just call it what it is: violated, disturbed, ripped apart by unhealed alcoholics who wanted nothing but money. I'm going to tell you, I felt a little responsible. I know I'm not God. I did not make those decisions, but I was one of the proponents to get that going. So I felt a little responsible. I felt responsible because I went out for 15 years and AA went to shit while I was gone. I'm you know, not all of AA went to shit, but I'm going to tell you, meetings in Colorado are, at least a lot of the ones that I've been to, are subpar. There's elements that are missing, but so those are another couple of the reasons I feel responsible. I take that responsibility statement very, very seriously. All right. Now, I advocate in Colorado. Now, I've been asked to move to Oklahoma to start things up. I've been asked to move to Michigan. I've been asked to move to California. There was another state. I don't remember what it was. Virginia's popping in my head, but that wasn't it. It was back east. And I turned these down. Now, I am going to I will tell you that I did consider them, but my kids and my grandkids live here. So you might think, that my main reason for advocating was a very personal one, and it is because my grandkids and my kids live here, and they are part of my recovery. And my wife was not going to let us move. But that isn't those aren't the biggest reasons. Those are other good reasons. This is my community, man. I grew up in Colorado. I've lived here since 1979, since I was 9 years old. I know Colorado very, very well. I'm going to tell you, I don't really enjoy living here. Colorado is very backwards. I announced our new state bird is the ostrich because everybody's just sticking their head in the sand. We don't confront. We don't do a lot of things. All right. Colorado is now dead last when it comes to mental health services and recovery services. We're the only state that did not improve last year. We fell by 4.6%. We were 48th. Now we're dead last. And what I don't want to get into is start pointing the fingers at other people. I don't want to get into that. that here. I've done enough of that in the past. Um, were there major proponents? Were there? So I'll just kind of give a broad stroke on it. But you already know. You already kind of know what happened. Sober livings and recovery coaching literally destroyed our whole recovery community. See, AA became, or sobriety became a fad again about 2 years ago, and it ain't letting go this time because people are making too much money off of it. Yeah. Now, the hard part is everybody's running around acting like they're an expert when, and I've been doing this a long time myself, and I have the education, and I'm not an expert. I'm still learning a lot of things. Okay. It is because I feel a duty. I said duty. It's funny, Michelle and Clara here. I sent Amber, because I always let Amber know I'm going live. It's just I've done it for a couple of years, and it's just even though she's in the group to let people know I'm live. But I sent her one because her son and her friend were listening earlier, and I wrote her this time. What did I say? It was kind of funny, I think. I said, last live today, I promise. There may be swearing in this one, though. In other words, you may not want to listen if you're around the kids. All right. So, and I was talking to Pastor Marcia about this on Friday, Thursday, Wednesday. I don't know. It was this week. That I know for sure. That it was this week was probably. It was a day that ended with Y. That I know. All right. And she's even asked me, she said, Dion, you could be doing work over here, working, because I was talking to her about the fact that Colorado is one of the only states where you have to cut through red tape just to help someone. Yeah. And that's kind of what we were talking about. And so what is the biggest reason why I advocate, why I run my mouth, even get in trouble sometimes. Sometimes my advocacy turns into anger and I have to make, amends and things like that. I certainly go through that. It's just part of the process. But my answer to it is because God asked me to. And I don't need much more of a reason. It wasn't by accident that I became a recovery coach and then found out everything that was going on in the recovery coach community. That was not by accident. That was God presenting a problem to me that he knew I knew how to solve. That's why he did that. And it's starting to work. It's taken me 5 freaking years. Okay. But there was a lot of stuff to undo. A lot of stuff. So God is the main reason why I continue to do it. I have other ideas I'd much rather be doing, but God continuously calls me back to this work. See, I feel a deep connection to God. And I know that he trusts me with his children because, gosh, he has sent me a lot of his children over the years. A lot of his children. And I try and do what I can to help them out, be a part of, do what I can to help them move forward. Another reason that I advocate. See, the problem, well, not so much anymore. Not so much anymore. Okay. But there's a lot of nefarious people in Colorado that don't give a fuck how you do. They just want your money. Okay. So I try and keep people away from those places. And there are other resources in Colorado that there are some people that have figured it out. Here's one of the biggest ones. Being responsible for your resources. It's something I've been trying to get East Metro Detox to jump on. I mean, we talked about it 3 months ago, and still they're moving slow as molasses. I think they're waiting on something else to happen, honestly. Right? And when the new detox comes, there's a very, very good chance that I will be working there. There's a very good chance that, and then I can go back. But now that detox will be set up the way that it was back in the 90s when we were doing what we were supposed to be doing. Yeah. Yeah. We're going to be doing stuff like this, right? Let's say somebody comes in, maybe they haven't been able to shower or whatever maybe they've been living on the streets for months. We're going to give them a new set of clothes that they can keep. They can go through in there, pick out some clothes, make sure that you get cleaned up and everything, and at least have a new fresh set of clothes. If you puke in your bed, we're going to tell you go jump in the shower. We're going to get it cleaned up so that when you come out, it's nice and pretty for you again. See, these are the things that you can do to meet other people where they're at that will help them get to a point where they are willing to do what they need to do to get sober or clean. Yeah. What about the people dropping off? What about the family? What about the family? How many times did my wife drop me off at detox? A lot. So much that she just dropped me off. I'm like, you don't need to come in with me. I can sit and wait by myself. All right. But instead, what we're going to do is we're going to approach those people and we're going to offer services for them also, for the family. I've been working on growing AA because if we grow AA, then we get more Al-Anon. And then what happens? Then we get Alateen. And Alateen is the best prevention program that we have ever had, will ever have. And I've won the governor's award twice for best prevention. I know what I'm talking about on prevention. So mostly it's because I feel a responsibility. For years, Dion got to do whatever the fuck he wanted to, whether it was playing drums or being on the radio and I have done all these things, but now it's time for me to give back. It's time for me to give back. Well, I've been giving back. I like to make things possible for other people. It brings great warmth to my heart. It really does. And one day we'll be able to turn around and say, all right, Colorado's at a place where it can start healing. Because recovery services in Colorado, this is how I see them. Well, actually, we're about halfway through. It's an old abandoned building that needs to be torn down and restarted. The foundation needs to be redone. We need to do the right. It isn't any different from your program where, recovery services in Colorado need to be reborn. Yeah. And what we should do is press the reset button, kick everybody out of the field, and then start letting the right people back in, which is currently what is going on. Yeah. The part that gets me is, and I can understand why people are upset that the POTUS took the recovery money. I can understand why. But let's not be fooled by that. What about the state money that the POTUS doesn't control? Where's that money? It was overspent last year, which is exactly why they're not getting any more money. Recovery, spirituality, and money do not fucking mix. And I believe that people are like, well, recovery isn't necessarily spirituality. Bullshit. I'm sorry, but I'm going to call bullshit. Okay. Not that I'm not proud of the people that got sober, quote unquote, without God, but even then I see God working in their lives. Whether they do or not, I see it. They don't need to believe in order for God to use them. They don't. And I'm under the belief that anything short of a higher power is doomed to fail. And that's years and years. It's hundreds of thousands of people that I have met. And when you do a certain thing, patterns don't lie. Patterns do not lie. Eventually, it will come back around and bite you in the butt. Yeah. Right. So there's a lot of different things that I would say were wrong. But here's the good stuff. A lot of it's going right now. People are understanding. I don't know how many times this year I have heard, Dion, you were right. What you said would happen is exactly what happened. I'll continue to predict the future, but I'm not predicting the future. Patterns don't lie, right? Just like hips don't lie. I'm a big Shakira fan. Shakira. Mostly just because I think I had the hots for her when she first came out. I think that's mostly. Just kidding. She got great voice. Christina Aguilera. I'm a big fan of Christina Aguilera, but only when she started writing her own stuff. That's when I really started to like her. Right. So there are a lot of good things, going on. I'm still not, we still need to work on the sober living. There's just a right way to do this and a million wrong ways to do it. So, what are the reasons? Well, family is a big one. My friends are here. I know this community. I'm well known in the community. Whether that's a good reputation or a bad reputation will depend on the person you're talking to. Right? A lot of people do not like me, and it's because I call them out. And I'm not going to stop. That's not going to stop. I will still continue, but it's based in fact. And it took me years to work through my own bullshit to get to what was the truth. And now I'm there. I don't have to wade through the bullshit. So the last couple of years, this is exactly what I've been doing, and we're almost done. I've been making sure that red tape isn't there so that other people in Colorado can go help the way that they would like to. As simple as that. It needed to be done. And I don't care if you're a CEO, a COO, whether you're the executive director of everything, I'm still going to speak to you the way that needs to be spoken. This is the Dion you will get, including the swearing. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. It was good to see you. Michelle, good to see you. Claire, good to see you. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah. I'm proud of myself because I went through this. And I didn't point the finger. I didn't get mad at anybody. What is that? Well, for me, that's progress, man. It's a lot of progress. Thank y'all. I love you. You know I do. Peace out. And have